There was these communication breakdowns that happen with patients and providers, whether that's a patient who just finished surgery and they're about to get wheeled out to the car and they're like, here's all your medication. Like they do their best, right? In the circumstances,
Everybody.
the staff will do their best to explain to the patients what they need to know, but the patient's not going to remember. The caregiver's super stressed and won't remember. And so then patients get home and they're like, wait, which one do I take for what?
And it's so good to be here with you. I know just for the sake of the audience and the people that are going to be watching, we'll do some introductions, but we've already had to hold ourselves back from having so many conversations as things are getting set up and the magic is happening. But for those watching, my name is Michelle Haynes, and I'm the VP of Business Development here at MedTech. I'm also general manager of our services business, and really how I would describe what it is we do and who we are and how we create value is we really look at challenges and problems that people have within their businesses, and we find creative ways to leverage technology to solve them. And we are implementing, we are identifying, we are building, integrating, maintaining, whatever is required to really make a difference in that area. So that's just a snapshot about who I am, a little bit about MedTech, and then I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Anne Maxson. I'm the president of Effectiv, which is a patient engagement and medication optimization solution, which really what that means is it supports patients who are on prescription medications. I'm a pharmacist by training and have just seen too often where there's patients who have struggles with their medications and they're not getting the support that they need. And so we wanted to figure out something that would be scalable and provide abundance, right? And to
Yes.
be able to support patients with their medication needs.
I can't think of a single person in my life that would not be impacted by what you're talking about medications, about distribution, I was personally impacted by that growing up as a child. So I can't wait to dig into what inspired this idea.
Yeah.
So without any other walk around in the conversation, I'd love for you to share how this all started for you. But when I say this, I don't necessarily mean get effective yet. Like we'll get there. But this started long before the inception of this application and this tool. So did you always know you were going to be in medical? Where did it really start? Take me back to your college days.
Yeah, well, even kind of before college, it's kind of funny. When I was really little, I wanted to be a video game tester.
No
And
way.
yeah, and my mom said that's not a real job. But I would venture to say that there's
Wow.
parts of software development that are very much a video game tester. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, if anything comes up, just
Virtual reality.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in MedTech, if you guys have need for a video game tester, you can make my childhood
calling you
dreams.
up.
Yeah, my childhood dreams will come true.
I
That'd be
love
cool.
it.
But then eventually, when I was in high school, I had a friend she and I just decided we wanted to figure out how to have the greatest impact we could in the world. And at the time, we were like, oh, we'll find the cure for cancer. Sounds a little presumptuous.
I just have to pause because that's so rare. How old were you when you had this thought?
It was probably 10th or 11th grade, I think.
So that's extraordinary. I don't know many 10th graders that are like, what can I do to really change the world?
Yeah.
And also create so much light.
Yeah.
Because there are people who are thinking that in 10th grade.
Yeah.
Like, what can I do? And how do I shape and mold my entire future to make the greatest difference for other people?
Yep.
So, that's
Exactly.
That's rare. So
Yeah.
I just have to say that.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, and so she and I just had this idea of like, okay, let's find the cure for cancer. And so we went off to college, to different places, and then she went to med school. I started a graduate school program in cancer biology. Eventually, kind of felt that may not be the right thing. And for me, it's always been kind of trying to find my true north. And for some people, that will be spiritual. For me, it was a spiritual thing. For other people, it's just kind of this inherent identity of where do I best fit. And so for me, it was this idea of like trying to be like, okay, hey, God, if you're up there, like, how can I be an instrument for good in the world? And what can I do? And so I felt the need to leave that program, that cancer biology program at Northwestern University, and I switched to the University of Rochester in upstate New York. and was in their toxicology program. And I was like, okay, that doesn't fully align with the cancer thing, but maybe, if I'm not curing cancer, maybe I'm preventing some by toxicology.
Yeah, yeah.
And while I was there, I started to kind of feel this nudge, like maybe this isn't quite the right place for this desire to do good. And eventually ended up stepping away for a couple of years, took some time just to go serve others and find, some support in that regard. And eventually was like, well, maybe I should go to pharmacy school. And ended up doing that. And while I was there, I had a really transformative rotation my last year. And it was kind of interesting because usually when pharmacy students would do their ambulatory care
That's a tricky
rotation,
one.
yeah, ambulatory care rotation, they would have to go and do like a Coumadin clinic or something like that. And I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to find something a little bit more exciting.
Yeah.
And at the time, there weren't a lot of clinics that would bring pharmacists in, but now that's kind of become a thing. But at that time, there wasn't a lot. But I just went to my own personal doctor and I said, "Hey, can I do a rotation with you? Like, and we'll figure out what that looks like. But would you be open to that?"
Mhm.
And he's like, "Well, I've only done med school students. I've never done a pharmacy student, but
It's a new
we'll
day.
give it a try." And so I went in, and how it was set up is that a patient would come in for their appointment. The medical assistant would room them and do the vitals and all the things and get them settled. And then I would go in and I would ask them about their medications. And
Mm.
being a pharmacy student, I had pretty specific questions I could ask, and I could kind of dig a little bit deeper, and I had more time than the doctor did. And so I was able to find out things that sometimes weren't found out.
And I'm sure those things were very important
Yep.
things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Medications that needed to be changed and things like that. And then after I visited with them, I would report back and let the doctor know what I'd learned. And he would go in for the visit, depending on the patient. Sometimes I would go in for the visit as well.
Mhm.
And then if there were any new prescriptions, he would have me go and bring the prescription to the patient so I could share with them, what to expect with the medication, how to take it, side effects, and things like that.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of like the little spark at the beginning for Effectiv to be like,
Wow.
okay, like we need to do this not just at this touch point when the patient's in the clinic, but beyond that. And that desire for that grew as I had more experiences when I got
It's
older.
like it was an accidental partnership,
Mm-hmm.
but not really accidental in hindsight
Yeah.
because you unearthed this value that you were really committed to so many people experiencing. And when you have
Yeah.
someone with that kind of knowledge who has the time, who's asking you different questions,
Yeah.
it can just open up a completely different line of thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I thought that was normal. I
Yep.
would not have thought to tell you that, but that's happening.
Yeah.
And for you, that became an immediate indication of, all right, something needs to change now.
Yeah. And what percent of patients get this opportunity to share these things? Not many.
Yeah.
So how can we scale it?
And that's often at In Time Tech, we talk a lot about abundance. I mean, everything is rooted in how do we make a difference and how can we take a scarcity mindset and shift it to an abundance mindset. And alongside abundance, we talk a lot about win-wins.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hearing you sharing, and it's like everybody wins. The doctor wins, the pharmacist wins, and the patient wins.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like across the board,
Yeah.
right where you want to be.
Exactly. And the doctor at the end of the rotation, he said, "How do I get more pharmacy students?
How do I do this
Like,
more? Let's
yeah,
create a program.
exactly."
Did it ever become a program there? Out of curiosity.
I don't know. He ended up leaving that
Okay.
facility, but yeah, I don't know. I think actually, honestly, the healthcare system that I was in now they have pharmacists in most of their clinics as part of their care teams. So
Wow. You're a trendsetter.
yeah, I know. Too bad. I don't think I get credit for that one, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, for me,
Yeah.
I'm, shock and awe. Okay. So you had this experience and that really served as the catalyst to say more people should have this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens after that?
Yeah. Well, and then it just became more apparent as I got into the field. So I moved up here to Idaho in 2011, and I worked in kind of a variety of different places in pharmacy. I didn't do the regular pill counting thing all that often, but I worked, St. Al's, St. Luke's, long-term care, long-term acute care, surgical, like
So you saw some things.
all these different things. And it became very apparent to me that there was these communication breakdowns that happen with patients and providers whether that's a patient who just finished surgery and they're about to get wheeled out to the car and they're like, here's all your medication. Like they do their best, right? In the circumstances,
Everybody.
the staff will do their best to explain to the patients what they need to know. But the patient's not going to remember. The caregiver's super stressed and won't remember. And so then patients get home and they're like, wait, which one do I take for what? And
Oh my
which one with
goodness.
food and all these different things. And so,
And I have to share.
yeah.
This is again, this is so real. This is so relatable. My mother just went in for procedure
Mhm.
Friday
Yeah.
and they put her under anesthesia and my dad is with her and he's good at so many things. And there are some things he's not the greatest at. He's very
Yeah.
human in that way.
Yeah.
And so I got a call later that evening from my mother and she shared we're getting to that place in our lives where when I'm under anesthesia or I'm coming out of anesthesia
Hmm.
and, dad needs to take the instructions
Yeah.
for how do I get home and stay on top of these things and keep her comfortable and what medications to take when,
Yeah.
that's again, it's not his strength,
Hmm.
that level of detail and understanding. So sure enough, they get home and my dad kind of looked at my mom as she was waking up and he's like, do you remember anything the doctor said? And she's like, no. So it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And then you got to put in calls and wait to hear back. And
Exactly. Exactly.
so
And I mean,
goodness, so relatable.
yeah. And from your dad's perspective, like even if it is something in his wheelhouse, like you're under so much stress, you're worried about your person,
Your
right?
emotions, yeah,
Yeah.
you're out of
So,
context,
mhm.
everything.
And so there was that. So I would see it professionally, but I would also see it personally. I'd get phone calls from friends and family. Um, I think everybody, no matter their profession, gets calls from friends and family asking them about the thing that they do for
Of
their profession.
course, yeah.
So I'm always the first person to know when people are pregnant because they'll call me
Like,
and
what
be
do I
like,
do?
"Hey, can I take this when I'm pregnant?" So there was just all these phone calls that would come, like things like that, or
Yes.
"Hey, all of a sudden I'm having these horrible night sweats. Could it be this medication?" Or just a few different things. And I was like, "Okay, not everybody has a pharmacist
And their
friend."
family
Yeah,
that they can just call.
yeah, and
Mhm.
ask the questions. And theoretically, you could go to the pharmacist where you picked up the medication. In my experience, that doesn't happen very often. You could call your doctor's office, but then there's this whole process of needing to wait to hear back and all these different things.
You
And
get put into a queue.
yep,
And they do their best too. And I
yeah,
love that you highlighted that as well. Is everybody's doing their best, but
mhm,
sometimes the system as it is and how it's designed to function, it doesn't enable the kind of response time that's really required.
yep,
So if you can't change the system, it's like how do I break into it? How do I build a bridge from this point in the conversation and this point in the timetable to getting to the result faster?
exactly,
So they're all doing their best
yeah,
and it is what it is. It takes time.
yeah.
There's a delay.
And healthcare in particular struggles
Yeah.
with workflow changes as well as technology. I mean,
Oh
they're
goodness.
starting to
So
become
many
more
systems.
quick adopters, but
Yeah.
still they're a little bit hesitant due to the fact that people's lives are on the line, right? And that was kind of an interesting thing for us to learn as pharmacists and entrepreneurs is
Mm.
as pharmacists, it's very much very risk averse, right? Like if I'm checking to determine the dose of an antibiotic for a NICU baby, I'm going to do my math 5 times,
Mhm.
right? Versus
High stakes.
yeah, versus entrepreneurship. They're like, "Oh, well, you've got something, throw it on the wall and see what
Fail
sticks."
fast.
Like, yeah, and you're like, "Wait, what?"
It doesn't work that way.
So at first, that was a little difficult to
Mm.
learn as an entrepreneur to be like, "Okay, like we need to just get this out there and see how it goes and see people's responses."
It is truly a blending of two very different worlds.
Yeah, yeah, but it's gotten to the point now where it's very freeing to be like,
Mm.
"Okay, like let's see people's response to this and see how much they like it and see what kind of interaction we'll get, as well as if they feel like it makes things easier for them."
Okay. I love this. So far in the journey, we're at a point where you're here, you're in Idaho, you're seeing all these different environments and having all
Mhm.
these different experiences. You're seeing how common it is for your family to call you, which again,
Mhm.
super relatable. We've got
Mhm.
some nurses in my family and they're our first call. Something's
Yeah,
wrong with our kids, something happens, we don't feel well. They're our first call
yeah,
at any point in time or a text message like,
yeah,
hey,
exactly.
should I go in? I don't know. Should I do this?
Mhm.
very, very common, I would say. So then something must have happened because you have two co-founders.
Correct.
So how did you
Yeah.
connect with Tyler and Sabrina?
Yeah. So that was, it speaks a little bit to the amazing entrepreneur ecosystem here in the Treasure Valley. So I'd kind of been going with that day a little bit, and I talked to a few different people and was like, oh, this, I originally, when I come up with the idea, it was just kind of snippets, putting together short explainer videos so
Mm,
patients would have a better understanding and background and they could watch it asynchronously rather than having to talk to the pharmacist or read the pamphlet or things like that.
mhm.
And I had a friend who's like, she's like, that's a marketable idea. And I was like,
What?
but I'm a pharmacist. I'm supposed to just give away things for free, give away my knowledge and skills. And they're like, "No, like you're
Don't
adding
do that.
value, therefore you should be compensated for that value add that you're providing."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Okay." And so I started talking to a few other people. I had a friend who I knew was kind of in business. I didn't know he had such impact here in Boise, but his name's Blake Hansen.
Mhm.
And so
Yes.
I met
Yeah.
with Blake, and Blake was just one of the first people to really speak of like the possibility and the opportunity that was there. And so
Wow.
that was really important. And as I continued working with Blake and talking with different people, I ended up connecting through him. It was Boise Entrepreneur Week 2022. Um, I'd connected with somebody who connected me with Molly Zimmer, who's with
Yes.
Health Tech Idaho.
Okay.
So I met with Molly, and she was like, "You have to meet Tyler. Do you know Tyler?" I was like, "No, I don't know Tyler." She's like, "You need to talk to Tyler." I was like, "Okay, I'll talk to
I'm talking to
Tyler."
Tyler.
Yeah,
Sign me up.
I know. And
Where
so
is that guy?
Tyler and I met, at a Starbucks and just kind of sat down and chatted. And like, honestly, within like 5 minutes, it was like, wow, the amount of, we always joke about like the same pagedness. Like, it's always like, I'm on the same page.
Mhm.
Um, and at the time, he was working at a nonprofit and looking for some pharmacy consultants. So we didn't jump into the effective side of things right away. We instead, I went and worked for him as a consultant there,
Mm.
and Sabrina was also there. And so that was kind of where the three of us came together. And then things kind of shifted and changed, and Effective was kind of growing and having some more opportunity. And I was like, hey, do you guys want to join this with me? Because one, being a solopreneur is rough, right? Because every entrepreneur has highs and lows, and so it's nice to have other people in the boat who can
To
row on
share it.
those days where you're feeling a little tired.
Mhm.
And so we're three pharmacists, but our backgrounds are very different. So, like I said, I'd kind of worked in a variety of different places. Tyler's experience is more, he does a lot with like the billing side of it and the value add and that reimbursement side of things. So he has just a great understanding of that, as well as like project management and things like that. He
Mhm.
just has a great mind for business. And then Sabrina is a cystic fibrosis pharmacist. And so she understands that need to really connect with patients with medications. That's so important to make sure that they're
For
adherent.
quality of life.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so she's there. And then she also is the founder of Idaho Barkery, which is like a local dog food or dog treat company.
Mhm.
And they won the trail mix competition at BW last year. And she has a master's in business creation from the University of Utah. So she brings kind of this other angle. So it's kind of interesting because people look at like our team and they'll be like, "Oh, you're all pharmacists. You're all the same." And we're like,
Right. We're
but
so different.
yeah, there's a lot of diversity within our group. So,
Yeah. Incredible. So where are you guys currently?
yeah,
Like share that with the people who are listening because ultimately I always find entrepreneurial journeys like this insanely inspiring. Uh,
yeah,
insanely. And I will share this. I've had the privilege and the opportunity to really get a front row seat to watching this company be built.
hmm,
And not just as someone who's observing, but I've been an active participant in it. And yet I know when I look at our president and CEO, Jeet,
hmm,
he talks often about entrepreneurship.
hmm,
And he talks often, and there's four other co founders,
hmm,
and the five of them started this, even though it was really Jeet's dream.
yeah,
He was the catalyst for this to be what it is. And the origin of our why is still so much connected to him
hmm,
and his vision and his dream to make the world a better place and to create abundance and to really make a difference.
yeah,
And yet he'll share often entrepreneurship is a long, dark,
yeah,
and lonely journey.
hmm,
And as someone who's been on the forefront and gotten to watch it without necessarily having to experience that,
yeah,
I have seen, and I've gotten to really bear witness to the kind of creativity and grit
Mhm.
that's required
Yeah.
and the kind of risks that you take. And sometimes it's not just calculated business risk. Sometimes it's really putting yourself out there to be a stand for what you believe in
Mhm.
and being at peace dealing with whatever happens
Yeah.
as a result of that.
Yeah.
And so all of that to say the entrepreneurial journey is so unique to everybody,
Mhm.
but it's never simple and
Yeah.
it's never easy. And everyone's why is so different.
Mhm.
And yet it's people's why that I've seen keeps them going.
Yeah.
So I'm intimately acquainted with in-time text why, like creating
Yeah.
abundance, making a difference. But,
Exactly.
it sounds like as you're sharing your story, there was never this one point
Mhm.
that Anne woke up and said, I'm starting a company and this is what I'm going to build and this is
Yeah.
who's coming along and this is how it's going to look. You were just open moment to moment and present with the need
Yeah.
and open to building these relationships.
Mhm.
And it's gotten you to where you are now. So where are you now
Yeah.
given
S
all of that history?
Exactly. Yeah, and you're right, it isn't easy, and I feel like there's so many, like, false starts or, like, we joke about how we will have something that's just, like, almost to the point where we're like, "Okay, we're almost done with this one
We're
thing,"
ready. Wait.
and we're like, "You are our number one priority. Can you do what we need you to do?" But we are that person's, like, number 5,000 priority, right? And you're like,
Yes.
we need alignment where we're both each other's priority, but
You were sharing just as we were walking into this room, it's like you can have someone who's ready and incredibly inspired by what you're doing, ready to
yeah,
sign on the dotted line. Like,
yeah,
let's make it real.
yeah,
But you're a piece of paper on their desk as they're fighting fires in their own environment. And for
exactly.
you, that's your whole world.
Yep,
You're like,
yep.
let's sign the
You're like,
document.
"Let's
Let's make it
go."
happen.
Yeah,
And both are true.
yeah, exactly, and I think for us, like, one of the biggest hurdles for us was software,
Yes.
and we talked with you guys at the beginning, and we love what you do here,
Mhm.
and the timing just it kind of just didn't line up, and so
Yeah.
it took us a while to figure out the software piece. We had a couple of false starts that were just kind of devastating. One of those things, and you'll get this from a software standpoint, where you're like, okay, we're going to build this, and it takes so much longer than you thought it would, and then when it's done, it's not what you wanted it to be. And
Absolutely.
so those times where it was just like,
Uh,
now what? And if it wasn't for the why, if it wasn't for those phone calls I get from friends and family,
yeah.
we'd be done, right? Like, I'd be like, whatever, we don't care.
Yeah.
But we do care.
Mhm.
And we care about those patients and we care about that opportunity, especially for so many other people to be able to support them. And so right now we're again kind of at that point where we're like, okay, the next hurdle is to do some beta tests to demonstrate that we do provide a significant ROI to the clinics for the cost of our software.
Mhm.
They can get a 4 to 10x ROI within a couple of months.
Yeah. There
So
was there was something too that you shared, Anne, that it again deeply inspiring, and it's something very similar for us at In Time Tech because we have a brand promise
mhm.
of ROI or don't pay.
Yeah.
And in this industry, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
oftentimes, as we share that, people, their jaws drop
Yeah.
because they think, how can you do that? But in reality, it really comes from this commitment of, see, money's required to live,
Mhm.
but it's not the reason to live.
I love that.
And I don't know of any company,
Mhm.
I really don't know of any company that is able to stay true to doing what they're a stand for and doing what they're committed to doing when they are in constant pursuit of the paycheck.
Mhm.
But if you reverse that order
Mhm.
and you say, I'm going to do what needs to be done and be true to the commitment
Yeah.
that I had when I started this,
Yeah.
the money will come.
Yeah.
And we all need to pay our bills. Like, there
Mhm.
are salaries that need to be covered. We have mortgages to pay. We have
Yeah.
we have things that we need to cover. However, I never want to cover that at the expense of somebody else.
Mhm.
So our whole philosophy and approach to that is, when we do create value, you will pay us. You will
Mhm.
be excited to pay us,
Yeah.
and we will be able to run a profitable business so that we can keep people employed and take care of them and
Yeah.
scale and do what needs to be done. So it's more the order.
Yeah.
Both things
Exactly.
are important, but it's what comes first.
Yeah. And I think the learning experience is so important as well, right? Like
Yeah.
I've had people say, like, are you guys in it for the money? I was like, no, if we were in for the money, we would have quit forever ago because there's many much easier ways to make money
Yes.
than what we've been doing. And so, but at the same time, it was one of those things where you're like, okay, if I had to walk away right now, would it be worth it? I'm not walking away for the record, but like if I had to, 100% a million times worth it. $0, but so much experience and knowledge and skills.
Yeah,
So,
that's
and
beautiful.
networking too.
Community
Yeah.
connection. There's no doubt about that. I didn't expect to want to double click on this so much, Anne, but it's so profound too when we talk about money as entrepreneurs, because we do want to make money, but we're not doing what we're doing to make money.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm trying to articulate that in a way in real time as we're soundboarding with one another in the conversation of, let me provide value to you and then pay us.
Yeah.
And I don't want to provide value to you for free forever. But I understand that that's often a barrier to real relationship.
Yeah.
And it's a barrier for you to experience the results that we can produce and the difference we can make. So initially, we'll take that off of the table.
Yeah.
So it is no longer a barrier to entry. And then by the time you're paying for it, you want to pay for it and you're excited to pay for it because you see the measurable difference it can make.
Yeah. And you're grateful for the opportunity that's there, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I have found too within that brand promise, another side of it that people maybe don't always see so clearly is, well, your paycheck depends on it, but at the same time, it can create a peace of mind that you're always bringing your best.
Yeah.
Like I will tell our partners,
Exactly.
we don't have a B team and we don't have a C team because we don't get paid if we don't bring the A team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everyone is a team, and yet we're human and we all grow and we all learn and we all have things that we're taking on to be a better version and to kind of grow our capacity, but still a team, we've got to deliver.
Exactly.
We're going to do this.
Yeah.
So you have a very similar, I wouldn't maybe call it a brand promise, but as you're working with these organizations and these clinics, you mentioned earlier, hey, we're going to do this and we won't actually have any monetary exchange until. So share a little bit more about how you guys are approaching that.
Yeah. And so, for our beta testers, as we're trying to demonstrate that ROI, we're like, okay, well, we want to make sure that we are making this profitable for you. And so as we get started with those first few groups, in order to demonstrate that, we're like, okay, let's do this, a free 3-month trial in order to see if it's working for your clinic and for your experience.
Do you find in your industry that's common?
No.
Okay, so we're both weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's a good weirdness.
Yeah, exactly.
We had someone who came and visited us, and as we were talking, he looked at us and he's like, "You guys are very alien." I said, "Yes, different alien."
Exactly.
But it also is a testament to the commitment. Like, what are we here to do? So that's current state for Get Effective. That's how you guys all came together. You're doing beta testing right now.
Yep.
And you're doing this 3-month free trial so people can really experience the results and the impact. Where do you want to go in the next year?
Yeah.
Maybe 1 year, 3 year, 5 years?
Yeah, there's so many opportunities. So one of the benefits of what we're doing with Effective is that it is really kind of disease state agnostic. There's a few different groups and different technologies that will come in. They'll be very specific for certain disease states or certain medications and stuff like that. And so we have a lot of opportunity. Our goals are to kind of focus on the main ones that affect the majority of Americans, actually. So there's, metabolic disease, cardiovascular disease, pulmonary disease, mental health is a huge one for us. Mental health is very, very interesting because a lot of times drugs that are used for mental health are notorious for the side effects hitting first and the efficacy hitting weeks and weeks later, right? So a lot of times if someone's starting a new antidepressant, the side effects will come right away, but they may not actually start to feel better in regards to their depression for 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Wow.
And so how important is it to have that medication check-in one, as a way to just feel seen and heard, but also as a way to have some like discrete data points of being like, oh, so you can look back and be like, okay, yep, those side effects hit first, but now they're starting to go down as you're getting used to the medication. And oh, and the efficacy is starting to go up. You're starting
Mhm.
to get some support there. So those are kind of our main areas that we're interested in as far as different disease states. Another component of it that has been with us kind of from the beginning is that idea of this is a technology that can help underserved populations,
Mm.
um, both domestically as well as internationally. With the software that we use, we're able to change languages and things like that, and so the check-ins can go out in a different language, but the results come back in the language of the provider, so that can help decrease those language barriers as well. So there's a lot of opportunity to support those types of populations who may not have access to their provider or will have a language barrier or whatever, but they have a cell phone. And so they can easily, fill out this medication check-in that comes via text message. And that's particularly important in certain disease states that like HIV that sometimes do have a higher incidence in those underserved populations. So
Yeah.
that's kind of another area where we're like, okay, this is something that could do a lot of good for the people who really need it.
Mhm. Totally clear. So for those who are going to listen,
Mm-hmm.
you're working with clinics right now.
Mm-hmm.
And does the clinic really need to pick up this application and get behind this application, or is there a way right now or a plan where it can come from the end user who's picking up that medication? Like
Yeah.
how do you use it and interface with it?
Yeah. So right now it is it goes through the clinic.
Okay.
But we've had a lot of people ask us like, oh, do you guys have a direct to consumer
Yes.
opportunity
Yeah.
or different things? Because when we did our pilot, a lot of the patients, so it was a small pilot, but 85% of the people who filled it out said they felt it was a valuable way to track their medications.
Like they wanted it in their
Mhm.
hands.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I've
I can
I've
imagine.
I've had moms, come to me and be like, "Hey, my kid's starting this ADHD medication, but they were on this one and I wish I could use Effective as a way of having again discrete data of being like, okay, on that medication, these were their
Yes.
side effects. This was the efficacy on this new medication. There's
Who
this."
who wouldn't want a pharmacist in their pocket?
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Like, and that's what it is.
It
So a
really is.
mom of
Yeah.
medications, and it's based on their personal history, which is what
Yeah.
would make it so powerful.
Yeah.
Like you can go out and Google things,
Yeah.
which is also quite terrifying that
Exactly.
all of a sudden you had a scratch and now
Cancer. It's always
you too.
cancer.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna die.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all gonna die. But having something that is based on your information, your patient records, your history, your reactions, it's not just a pharmacist in your pocket, it's a family pharmacist in your pocket, like you were
Yeah.
sharing, to
Exactly.
come full circle.
Mhm.
So direct to consumer, is that something you guys are now?
No, not right
Not
now,
right
because
now.
we haven't
One
figured
thing
out
at a time.
we haven't figured out the software piece, so maybe that's something we
We
should
should
talk
talk
about.
more.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I love that. But still, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah,
And I go back to something that Jeet says a lot to us, like you don't boil the whole ocean.
yeah,
Like you need to start somewhere. And it
yeah.
doesn't mean you're looking to limit or constrain
Mhm.
yourself, but you can't start with everything all at once. And so this
Yeah,
is the next step for you, is to beta test this with clinics
correct.
who have these audiences, these captive audiences.
Mhm.
And so far, how is that going for you guys?
Yeah, so we haven't started the official beta tests yet, but the partner that we've been talking to, one of them, they're so excited and they just understand the value of it. So
Yeah.
it's a pharmacist and then a chronic care manager. And at first they were kind of like, well, wait, will this decrease our interactions? And as we talk through it, they're like, actually, this will enrich those interactions that we have with the patients because we'll be able to filter out the information that we need to focus on, right? So when we
Mhm.
do have that next appointment with them, we can talk about those things that are most important, those problems, those red flags that have come up as they've filled out the medication check-ins.
It reminds me of the phrase quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Like now the interactions you have, they're more meaningful
Yep.
and they're more direct.
Exactly.
And you have eliminated all of the leading questions to get to the root of the thing,
Yep.
which could be half of an appointment.
Exactly. And so that's one of the components of the ROI, right? Is that they'll
Mhm.
be able to have more efficient and effective conversations with the patient in less time, therefore being able to have more appointments, see more patients, and give them the support that they need.
Mhm.
But that requires balance too, because healthcare can be tricky where they're like, oh, we're going to give you a 15-minute appointment to do all of these things. And so that's going to be part of the clinic manager's decision making of how to do that.
Yeah. So it's more of a let's see how that plays out
Yep.
once things are in motion and it's
Mhm.
really being used.
Yep.
And it always has. And when your thing is used, you get a completely different data set.
Yep.
But that data set is so invaluable
Mhm.
because that's what drives whatever the next phase is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of one of the things too, as we've talked to people on this entrepreneurial journey, is the idea of the gift of bluntness, right? Like,
So true.
I don't want people to be polite. I want them to be blunt. I want them to poke holes. I want those challenging questions
Yeah.
and those ways to help me think about things so that I don't have any blind spots. And no matter what, you'll have blind spots, but it's important to have people around you and surround you with those people who'll tell you like it is, who won't tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear.
Yeah. Why do you think entrepreneurs have that gift of bluntness in your world? Why is
Yeah.
that?
I think it's because we recognize the value of it, right? Like it's a lot easier for you to hear it early than hear it late, right? That you've been doing something wrong forever.
Yeah. Oh, and when I think about why would that occur,
Mm-hmm.
there's an appreciation and a value for that feedback, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
I also have seen entrepreneurs have less time and less money
Mm-hmm.
to be uncertain.
Yeah.
And even if they're making a decision in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing what the quote unquote right answer is, because we know that there isn't necessarily a right answer,
Yeah.
you don't have the luxury of delaying a decision. You
Yeah.
need to move. You
Yeah.
need to
Exactly.
make the call and live with it and then be willing to pivot or course correct
Yeah.
if that need arises in the future. So the value, the appreciation, the directness, but just having that urgency almost always pressing in
Yeah.
shapes like how you communicate and how quickly you get to the point.
Exactly. And to kind of what you were saying about what Jeet had talked about kind of don't chase the shiny objects, is that understanding that every yes that you have when you're doing decisions, every yes to one thing is a no to something else.
Mhm.
So just being really conscientious of that and then surrounding yourself with people who will help you choose where the yeses should be and choose where the nos should be.
Absolutely. So I'm seeing you wear so many different hats,
Yeah.
not just as entrepreneur
Yeah.
and even medical professional and pharmacist,
Yeah.
but within those contexts, many roles.
Hmm.
So if you were to share with another startup right now,
Hmm.
they're going to start something. They're not hemming and hawing and saying, "Should I start something?" It's like, "I'm going to do this."
Yeah.
What is one thing that you would want to impart upon them for their first year,
Mm.
given your experience?
I think honestly, self-care.
Really?
Yeah. Going for a walk, like get outside and go for a walk every day, just to kind of clear your head and
Mm.
reorient yourself to your true north, right?
Mm.
Um, just to take that time for yourself to focus on what is your priority that day. And I mean, I guess maybe along with that is block scheduling, right? Like I love a good block schedule where you can be like, okay, on Mondays from this time to this time, I focus on this part of my business,
Yeah.
and making it a little bit easier in order to have that organization. But I think honestly for me, that block schedule idea came from that idea of okay, I need at least some time outside, go for a walk, get reconnected with everything, right, and
Yeah.
figure out the next steps.
The the part that resonates is you have to know your why.
Yeah.
And I will share a bit personally. So my family owns a small business,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say the why for how we became entrepreneurs was a more classic case of I just want to do my own thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can start a business that way.
Yeah.
And then those who start businesses that way will be the very first people who line up to tell you that's not how it works.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Because you may have started A
Mhm,
with some level of attachment to getting B,
mhm.
but then you are the one person.
Yeah,
And so there is no clocking out, checking out, not being available, not being the person that is managing, dealing, and handling
yeah.
in a way. And so the why there falls apart and kind of crumbles over time.
Mhm,
And then you've got some hard decisions to make. But an entrepreneur who knows their why, I find to be so much more resilient.
mhm,
And again, you're saying take a moment and reconnect with why am I doing this in the first place? Like,
mhm.
what is the purpose and the creation behind this?
Yeah.
And staying so locked in
Mhm.
on what it will contribute
Yeah,
that everything that happens in between just becomes the cost of the privilege to have the opportunity
yeah.
and keeping centered in that.
Mhm.
And those entrepreneurs, and I have Jeet to look at as he is one of those entrepreneurs that has kept that really on the forefront and kept that in focus. And he's kept all of us focused on that. There's a resilience and a kind of this unshakable commitment that we're going to figure it out no matter how creative we have to get
Yeah.
in the process. And we'll all have to get creative at some point because resources are not, infinite in that way.
Yeah.
They're limited. So we have to make some choices.
Yeah. I love that phrase that you said, the cost of the privilege to have the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been on the forefront of my mind this
Yeah.
last week. Just there's a lot of conversations, and not to go too far off track, but I find that there's a lot of conversations around I have to, I
Mhm.
where things are being experienced as a burden, and you can name the classics, right? You can name the
Yeah.
I I'm going to get less sleep because I want to pursue this and I want to learn this new skill. So I'm going to wake up a little bit earlier, or I'm going to go to the gym because I want to be healthy and I want to be able to play with my kids
Yeah.
or my grandkids. But I don't really want to get up. I don't want to go. There's
Mhm.
always a cost to the decisions you make. But when you're really connected
Yeah.
and believe in what you're doing, that cost becomes such a blessing
Mhm.
and not something that you're fighting against constantly and resisting constantly. So I keep that in
Yeah.
mind. I remind myself of that when I'm doing hard things and I'm growing and I'm scaling myself.
Yeah.
But I see that in innovation. I see that in entrepreneurship. I see that in health and fitness and
Mhm.
everything related to self-care,
Yeah.
even.
Exactly. And one of the things we talk about, like just in my family, we talk about like you have to or you get to, right?
Exactly.
You get to.
You get to.
We've actually talked about that a lot as far as education goes, right? Because I have teenagers, so every once in a while they're like, I have to go to
School.
school. I'm like, you get to go to school. Like,
Mhm.
let's talk about the opportunities that education provides and how blessed you are to be able to have the opportunity to get the education that you do.
Really experiencing that choice and experiencing that blessing and experiencing that privilege. I have younger kids. I don't have teenagers yet, but I don't feel like that's that far away.
Yeah.
And we've already had a real pivotal moment when it comes to education.
Hmm.
And at one point I had this conversation with my son,
Hmm.
and I really had to be committed. I really had to be willing to get behind this sharing in this statement.
Hmm.
But everything was just a grind for him.
Hmm.
And I got to a point where I sat down with him and I said, why don't you quit school?
Yeah.
And I'll stay home.
Yeah.
I will, I've talked to my leader. I've talked to my boss. If I need to work remotely for a while, I'll stay home. And
Hmm.
you know what? You just don't have to go to school. Just be happy.
Hmm.
And my, my reasoning behind that was I wanted him to experience choice and get very, very clear that it was his life in
Yep.
his hands.
Hmm.
And it wasn't, I'm trying to shape your life into something you don't want.
Yep.
And I said, you take 24 hours and you think about it.
Hmm.
And if it's something you want to do, I'll work from home.
Yeah.
And you decide. And he's like, I already know my answer. I said, no, you have to take 24
Yeah.
hours to
Think
think about it. And he came back in 24 hours on the dot. And he said, I'm going to school. And it was so interesting, Anne, because I said, why?
Mhm.
It's why when it makes you so unhappy.
Yeah.
And he shared something very profound for a young kid, which was because I do want to grow and I do want to get smarter and I do want to have opportunities. And that's where my friends are. And my friends are growing and they're learning. And what would I do? Like,
Yeah.
who would I spend time with? And how I wouldn't even be able to relate to them,
Mm.
if they were moving forward and I'm here.
Yeah.
And all of that, I'm sharing all this because really it gave him a completely different respect and regard for, yes, we're going to read every day. Yes, you're going to do some math facts every day. But instead of dragging himself to do those things, it
Mhm.
was like, whoa, now I experience, I get to,
Mhm.
and there's no more burden because
Yeah.
this is what I want. This is the kind of life I want to live. This is the
Mhm.
direction I want to go. And I don't think it's very different for entrepreneurs. I don't think
Yeah.
it's very different for employees or humans in general
Yeah.
to say, okay, what
I
is your
agree.
why and what are you moving toward?
Yeah.
And be so grateful that you even have that opportunity in your hand and
Mhm.
don't let it go.
Yeah.
Like chase after it. So
Mhm.
it was a very long sharing and
But
telling,
no,
but
you're good.
I just really appreciate the point that you're bringing up where spend time reflecting, get present every day.
Mhm.
Why are you doing what you're doing?
Mhm.
And then get excited about everything that comes with.
Yeah. And I think part of that too is like when you go for that walk, don't listen to something else. Just let it be quiet. Right.
Ooh,
It's
yeah.
that can be a hard thing to do because
Mhm.
I mean, there's a backlog of
Podcasts and
podcasts.
audiobooks,
Yeah, exactly. There's all the things.
music,
Or
and
like call somebody and get caught up, but sometimes it's important just to have a quiet, whether that's on a walk or on a drive or something, just have some time where it's just quiet.
absolutely. So that was your take on entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
like what you would want to leave someone with during
Yeah.
their first year once they already decided. When it comes to just putting on that pharmacist hat,
Hmm.
what is something that you would share with someone who's actively in this?
Yeah.
And I know that's really broad, but how do they become more connected with what's happening in their body and with what's available to them and become more connected with their doctors or their medical team?
Yeah. I think it really is. Healthcare is kind of shifting. The generation that's kind of coming up is kind of shifted to more of a, what's the word? Like customer service focused type of experience. Like you have more of the concierge doctors and things like that. And people have a little bit more autonomy to choose who they see.
Mm.
So I think that's a big part of it is finding a provider you feel comfortable with. Previous generations were kind of like, oh, well, I just go to
That's
this
the one
doctor. That's
doctor.
who I go to, and I do whatever they say, and I don't question it.
Yeah.
Um, and I,
Goodness, we've come so far.
yeah,
That's really
exactly.
not the experience anymore, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully, people feel empowered to be
Mhm.
able to ask those questions a little bit more, and so I think that's important is finding a provider you feel comfortable with and who has the skills and knowledge to be able to support you in whatever
Mhm.
thing you're trying to work out. Um, I think the other little tip is talk to the pharmacist. And when you go to pick up
Yes.
your meds and they ask you if you want to talk to the pharmacist, just say yes.
Ask questions.
It's tricky because oftentimes when I was there, people wouldn't take the time to do that, or
Yeah.
there would be issues, and sometimes yes, the pharmacist is so busy, depending on which pharmacy you're at. Sometimes they have so much on their plate and they're trying to do so many things.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, anyway, it was always one of the most fulfilling parts of the job is to go and explain to a patient and talk to them for a few minutes and get their take on things
Yeah.
and be able to answer those questions.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever talked with a pharmacist.
Yeah. I know often people don't, and most people don't read the pamphlet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But I'm questioning that right now. Why so? And maybe in some ways it just felt like you couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any insights on that, but it just never even occurred to me to have a conversation with the pharmacist. It's like you go and it's like a
The
bank teller, like, here's what I'm looking for. This is what you've got. And you walk away and then you go, okay, I don't really know what to do.
oh
I don't
wait,
really know what to do with this?
Yeah. Be like, do I take this with food? I don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bring
I think sometimes the way it's teed up is kind of they assume the person will say no. And so when the
Yeah.
clerk or the tech or whatever asks, sometimes they ask it in such a way that it makes it easy to say no.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes you're not feeling good when you go to pick it up and you just want to go home and go to sleep, or you've got a kid who's sick and they've already struggled through the
Oh,
doctor's office
yeah.
and you've had to wait to get the
They're
medication
in the
filled.
car, they're
And yeah,
miserable.
and you just want to get home. But so yeah, I think that's the tricky part is trying to be like, okay, like I'm gonna take the time to go talk to the pharmacist and get their take on it. And sorry to all those overworked pharmacists who now have people coming to. Like, I didn't mean it.
It's the people part and the
Yeah.
connection part of the job. But I think now, after having talked with you and getting to know more about your story, there are a couple people I know. Their kids are pursuing degrees in pharmaceuticals,
Mhm.
and when I know these kids, and they'll say, "Okay, I was deeply impacted by this, and
Mhm.
I want to be helpful.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm getting into this field.
Mhm.
I want to be a resource so that someone doesn't have to experience what I experienced."
Yep.
And there is going to be an element of human connection in that.
Mhm.
So I'm sure, hopefully, pharmacists are they're saying,
Yeah.
"Yes, I want to talk with you
Exactly.
and share with you and problem solve with you and make sure you have what you need."
Yeah. And they're as I said, they're expanding more, so more and more clinics have pharmacists as part of the team as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is really important because pharmacists really, I mean, it's depending on the school you go to, it's 3 or 4 years of pretty much just pharmacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how medications work. Whereas for medical professionals, it's a semester, or, it's not as much. And so, and especially as far as keeping up to date on all the new things and things like that, pharmacy really does add a very valuable component to the clinical care team. And so that's nice too, is when there's more and more clinics who have those pharmacists who either are part of the visit or part of the outreach.
Mm-hmm.
So,
One thing I definitely want to touch on is legacy.
mm, hmm
When you think about Get Effective
hmm
as this application that's going to create this impact
yeah,
and really make a difference for people, where do you want to see it as a company go? Now, I won't hold you to this. I
yeah.
won't see you in 10 years and go, "And this is what
Come
you
on.
said,
Yeah.
on October 21st."
October
I
21st.
mean,
Yeah.
maybe we will as a milestone and as a celebration,
Yeah.
but the future's unknown by design. And
Yeah.
so it's less about saying this is exactly what's going to happen, but more about when you look at Get Effective as an entrepreneur, as a pharmacist, as someone who's deeply committed to making a difference in the world, where
hmm
do you want to see this go overall?
Yeah. Overall, I think really being able to lean into that idea of supporting those underserved and
Mhm.
vulnerable populations, um, and domestically as well as internationally,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there to be able to support those groups. And then obviously having it be sustainable, right? That would
Right.
be the other main component.
Maybe I mean, this would be my hope and dream for you and your team in a way as I've gotten to know you more in this conversation. Also, somehow creating this space for pharmacists to operate in such a relational way
hmm
with their patients.
hmm
Because again, I look at my experience and I go, I've just always gone and picked up and walked away and
hmm
kind of figured it out later on.
Yeah.
But what you're really sharing and describing is a completely different level of interaction and engagement.
hmm
And for people to have a space to show up that way
Yeah.
within the workplace, given the subject matter expertise they have in a space, is
hmm
like a whole freedom and a whole creation in and of itself.
Yeah.
So who knows, 10 years, maybe there's a direct to consumer path. You
Exactly.
have an international team of pharmacists
hmm
who are really showing up on a daily basis and building these relationships with their patients.
Yeah.
And they are just a key resource in the overall experience that someone has when it comes to their health and their quality of life.
Yeah. Yeah. And people have, talked to us about this perspective of, what's your exit strategy? what do you want to do? And
It's a common question.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And for us, it really is about the impact. Like,
Mm,
what if we find a partner who's a bigger player, who has the opportunity to have a greater impact, but is still aligned with what we want to do? That's not something that we'd say no to, right?
of
Um,
course.
but at the same time, and we do have the ability to do it as a small business type of thing, and
Mm.
grow it more organically from our little team, so that we can keep control and have it grow the way that we would want it to and have the impact that we want it to.
Yeah. So for now, what I'm getting is you're very mission driven.
Yeah.
You're very much doing this for the possibility it creates. Money's required, that will happen.
Mhm.
You're getting into the lives of the people who are going to be using this, both at a clinician level,
Mhm.
but then end user as well.
Yeah.
And the goal is to absolutely scale and serve these audiences domestically, internationally, working with pharmacists. So why not see a team of thousands of people
Yeah.
and having this application in every doctor's office, in every hospital, and
Mhm.
in every physician and pharmacist's hand? Like, why not?
Yeah.
And the need is certainly there.
Yeah.
So it might seem like one step at a
One
time,
step at a time. Exactly.
but dreaming is important, and that
Yeah.
having that mission in mind is so critical.
Yeah. I think the other component of that too is the data and the information that we gather by using
Mm,
Effective. We're able to get information about patient satisfaction, efficacy, side effects, social determinants of health, and so really digging
incredible.
into like healthcare access, food access, transportation. Um, and most of the data right now in regards to patient medication adherence is just based on insurance claims, which is kind of slow. One is it
Yeah,
takes a
it's also
while, it's
very
delayed. And then there's also the perspective of if a patient has automatic refills in mail order pharmacy, they look like they're taking it because it gets sent automatically every month or 90 days or whatever it is.
and you don't really
You
know.
don't really know. And so you don't really know what's happening. So our goal is to really, one, get more information about what's going on with patients so that providers can intervene, so they can step in and be like,
Mm,
oh, this patient has this obstacle to taking their medication correctly. Let's figure out if we can help or if they need a different medication or if they don't need that medication anymore. But then from a population health standpoint, you take all of those single patients and you pull that data together and you have so much more information of, say when we did our proof of concept, it was with GLP-1s, right, which
mhm.
is kind of a hot medication
Yeah.
right now. And so you're able to be like, okay, with this GLP-1, we see these side effects in real world data, right? It's like an extensive post-market analysis is the
Yeah.
information that we gather.
Yeah.
So there's that, as well as even from the perspective of, let's say we're going to look at pain control for patients after rotator cuff surgery. It can be like, okay, based on the information we have from Effective and their patient population, we can see that on average, a 45-year-old male who has rotator cuff surgery will require 25 tablets of hydrocodone acetaminophen, right?
Mm.
So it can help kind of shape those prescribing practices as well.
It can be predictive in some ways
Yep.
and more accurate.
Yep.
I didn't even think about that,
Yeah.
but that's a powerful data set as well.
Yeah.
More research.
Yeah. That digs back into my PhD days where
You
where
have some of those
yeah,
elements in
I get
there.
so excited about, that side of it.
Yeah, incredible. Well, this has just been an absolutely lovely conversation.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely excited for you.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more. How do we build the software?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Let's figure it out.
To have this impact because it's designed to have impact.
Yeah.
And it just seems so clear. So we're excited and I hope to have you back. We should absolutely do a 2.0 on this.
I know. Or
And
I
this
could have
is
you on my podcast.
yes, because you're going to
I'm
start your
gonna
podcast
start a
back up.
podcast. Yeah.
Okay, you have to share just a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So that I love a fun fact. Fun fact.
It's kind of crazy.
5-year anniversary.
5-year anniversary of episode 1 of a podcast I did. It was COVID project,
Okay.
right? Um,
COVID project.
yeah. And so I had a podcast. It was called Pebbles of Light. And it was this idea of abundance, right? Like wanting to put more light out into the world. And so the whole concept of the podcast is the idea of being able to provide light to others and supporting them on their path,
Mm.
as well as taking a moment and looking back at those who provided light to you on your path and
Wow.
feeling gratitude for that. And so, yeah, I'd started this podcast. I don't know how many episodes I ended up doing. I did it over a couple of years. And I mean, I feel like I'm always like, okay, next quarter, I'm going to start it back up.
Start it.
But I'm hoping this is the tipping point to jump back in because
This could be it.
yeah, because I've been feeling like we need this idea of light and just the importance of things are kind of hard right now. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of questions that people are dealing with. So the idea of putting out more good out into the world is really important. And so I've got a list of probably 25 people to interview that
You've got a
want to interview.
backlog.
Yeah, I know. So I need to work on that and get people
Today's
back
the
out there.
day.
Yeah,
It's a declaration now. You're
Yeah.
putting it out in the world.
exactly. Pebbles of Light is coming back.
It's coming back. You're going to create some abundance.
Yeah, exactly.
We do. We all need to. We all need to just hear about these incredible things that are happening, and people sharing from a place of gratitude and sharing from a place of possibility and opportunity.
Yeah.
The more we hear it, and the more our frame of mind is in that place of gratitude, I find life is richer.
Yeah.
Life is more fulfilling when we spend more time in the space and in the mindset of how grateful, like how fortunate.
Yeah.
Look at what's available and what we can do with it. So I can't wait. It's coming back.
It's coming back.
Thank you so much, Anne, for your
Yeah.
time today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching this In Time Tech podcast. If you'd like to learn more about what we can offer you, please visit our website, intimetech.com, where you'll be able to see the different capabilities and technologies we could provide you in your business. Also, don't forget to subscribe and follow us to get more amazing content like this. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.